Hey, me, Makari. You joined Discord and Twitch. Hey, thanks, bye. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there might be some rumors out there that apparently I am a furry. I would like to quell these rumors as much as possible, for I am not a furry. I am neither a VTuber. I do not go by those cliche labels of which you would designate me with. And as such, to prove such thing, we're going to watch an SCP video, because what's the most unfurry thing you can do than watching an SCP video? And this one is about SCP-914. Furry transformations more terrifying than SCP-173.
Gottlieb and Schneider have done everything they can to barricade the door.
Because the furries are trying to break in.
The force on the other side strikes the door again and again, rattling the integrity of the barricade.
They're trying to convince you to take part in their pyramid scheme.
They're driven by some unholy mix of hunger and fury, the creatures outside. And given
they found out that you had a discount for commissions. That's the one mistake around furries. You never offer discounts. Cheap smut is the one where you'll doom all of humanity around them. That, or give them the opportunity to get their hands on Crystal Star Fox.
They will get in. Security Officer Schneider injects the magazine of his handgun and counts the remaining
Oh no,
bullets.
only enough bullets
5.
left for myself.
That's not enough to take down even one of these monsters, let alone the army assembled outside.
Oh,
the
no.
deep scratches on his cheek sting like
This isn't even an SCP. This is just a recounting of the security guards from Anthrocon.
acid. He'd
Yo,
survived
Caskin, thank you for
2
5.
different SCP-682 security breaches. Was this really how he was going to die? He turned his gaze to the man in the lab coat, pacing back and
You
forth.
created furries, you mad bastard.
Gottlieb nervously wrings his hands. He can't help but feel.
Can we remind ourselves that Elon Musk wanted to legitimize making fox girls a real thing? We're not ready for that world where furries are real outside of the fursuits. We're not ready.
Reasonable for the terror he's unleashed on.
We can barely deal with
But that's
ourselves, let
really
alone
only the
furries.
start of
Actually
this.
anthropomorphic
If this
monsters.
nightmare gets out, the whole world would be at risk. What an incredibly stupid way to bring about an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario.
I mean, we all knew that furries were going to be the end of the world at some point. In fact, furries are a scary creature. They have wormed their way so integrally into our society, making themselves fundamentally a founding sentiment of our existence. They are now such a pivotal bedrock of our society that they own the planet. Look at this picture. What do you see in this picture? If what you see is the end of society, we cannot fight the furries. For if we were to shoot this plane down, if this plane crashed, it would send the entirety of the known world technological and IT infrastructure into the Dark Ages. The entirety of the world would be plummeted into a technological recession known nothing since the Dark Ages. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the furry menace we fight.
And it's all his fault. The result of one silly little experiment. The barricade buckles and the doors burst open. Dr.
they about to
Gottlieb
get.
and Officer Schneider brace themselves. There's a lethal rainbow of fur, packed tight, waiting for them on the other side. But let's rewind a few hours to before everything went sideways at Site-19. It's true that
I feel as though they're trying to represent the furries in this as like, you remember that CSI episode? Hold on, I'm sorry. Side quest. Do you guys remember that CSI episode with the furries where it's so out of touch? Do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember this at all? I remember seeing this back when I was like really heavily in the fandom and dying of cringe.
Excuse me.
Yeah. This was a lot of people's first experience of furries. And when you ask a normie, hey, do you know what a furry is? They're like, oh, you mean those things from CSI?
I'm Catherine Willows. I'm with the crime lab.
Like, in 20 years' time, this is going to be used as a case study as the evolution of furries.
I guess we're lucky that blue's not a more popular color.
Hello? This is racial profiling?
Anyway, that's too cringe for me.
That poor Dr. Gottlieb had triggered the containment breach that would take many lives, but it's also true that nobody could have seen this particular scenario coming, as Dr. Gottlieb wielded a containment unit full of incredibly expensive animal costumes into—
Yeah, no shot. I have a video, right? I made a video for the main channel before I went on hiatus on the main channel, which essentially, and I think if you ever want a bit of a giggle, it's not to my current standard of content that I make, but one of my last videos that I made back when I was actually capable of making content for the main channel, I made a video called Furries versus VTubers, which is the most pertinent thing imaginable, because now that you are going to hear this, you will never unhear it. VTubers are diet furries. And I will stand by that, and I will die by that statement. Think about it. In fact, they are diet furries because at least when you spend $10,000 on a fursuit, you have a physical thing you can hold. VTubers spend $10,000 on a VTube model, and you own the imagination of that thing that was created virtually. Both of them have very similar fandoms. But the funny thing is, what furries have accomplished in 15 years, VTubers managed to grow in the same sense in 4. And somehow, even though the VTube community is smaller than the furry community, they have way more drama, and I don't get it. And that's saying something considering how drama-filled furries are. Legitimately, I have a friend of mine who spent $14,000 on a fursuit. That's a down payment on a house.
to Research Cell 109B. Of course, these weren't just any animal costumes. They were fursuits, specifically tailored outfits, meant to represent the anthropomorphized animal persona, or fursona, of a member of—
I realize, actually, this is a story that's as old as time itself in the furry fandom. In fact, I have drawn a couple of pictures depicting this exact thing. There is a kink within the internet space of being turned into whatever outfit you're wearing. Like, within the transformation fetish world, this is a big one. And in the furry world, there's a lot of people who like that idea of putting on a fursuit and then becoming their persona. I have had no less than at least 2 people commission me that exact concept in the past.
Of the furry subculture. Furries enjoy role-playing as these characters at meetups or conventions. And for the more mysteriously wealthy of these furries, the fursuits can cost more than a designer 3-piece suit.
Damn right they can. Damn right they can. I want to point out as well, as much as I joke, I have suspiciously wealthy furries to thank for bankrolling my early days of streaming. I shit you not, if it wasn't for suspiciously wealthy furries being willing to spend exorbitant amounts of money on commissioning me artwork, I would never have had the start I would have had in streaming. Legitimately, furries commissioning me to draw smut was what helped me stay financially stable to start streaming full time.
Nobody knew exactly where Dr. Gottlieb had obtained the several fursuits he intended
He was
to
a closet
use
furry,
in testing
clearly.
that day. But Dr. Gears had
In fact, if you're willing to
inexplicably
dox
approved his
yourself, hands
proposal
up in the
to
chat if
test
you're
them
furry right
in
now.
SCP-914,
It's okay.
the
This is a safe
Clockworks.
space, I
For
promise.
those not in the know, this fantastical machine formed of 2 booths labeled intake and output, a control console, and a vast and mysterious array of clockwork mechanisms, is capable of transforming anything placed into it in a variety of ways, depending on whether it's set to rough, coarse,
Oh, that's
one-to-one.
actually kind of ingenious. I actually forgot this SCP existed, and it's one of the OG ones as well. What are you using for your hand tracking? I am using a Ultraleap C39 something. It's the dev kit one.
Fine and very fine.
Right.
Dr. Gottlieb, driven by an
Wait.
implacable
Hold on.
curiosity.
Wait. Before you go any further, I gotta get in the mood for this one. I gotta get in the mood. Ha! Boop. Rar, XD, uwu, nuzzles, there, I'm in the mood now. I'm ready,
Was
I'm
ready
ready.
to find out how these settings would alter his mysteriously obtained selection of fursuits. Research Assistant Klein took the first of the fursuits.
I hope he cleaned these things. You know, I know that people say, oh, but not furries don't do the sex thing. Yeah, unfortunately, stereotypes exist for a reason. You know, not all furries fuck in their fursuits, but some do. And those people are fucking stupid. I couldn't imagine wanting to fuck in a fursuit. It's like you're wearing a rug on top of another rug inside of a hoodie. If I wanted to get heat stroke, I'd just go to Arizona.
A high-quality blue and purple bear costume and placed it into the intake booth. Dr. Gottlieb switched the setting to rough and set the great rumbling beast of a machine into motion. After a brief conversion period, the output booth opened, revealing the tattered remains of the blue and purple bear fursuit, looking like it'd been put through an industrial...
God, it's so dystopian hearing somebody talk about furries and fursuits and such in a context like this. God damn it. Dude, that's like $5,000 right there.
paper shredder. It was an almost
oh my god,
waste
this
of $3,000.
dude, no, my brain is working in ways I don't like it. I don't like it. I just came up with this entire video is about furry maxing. No. That's it. We're done. I've coined a word and I don't like it. Furry maxing. That's it. We're done. We've peaked. That's it. I'm graduating. No. God damn it.
But Dr. Gottlieb was unfazed.
All right, we're locked in. We're locked in. We're furry maxing to the extreme.
Sweeping the desecrated remains of the suit out of the booth, it was time to move on to the second phase of testing. A fursuit of a brightly colored toucan was placed into the intake booth by...
But if 2 can, what about 3 can? What about 1 can? You know what? You can't tune a piano, but you can tune a fish.
Research Assistant Klein. Dr. Gottlieb set the machine to coarse, and once it was done, the result was a pile of neatly cut fabric strips, as though the suit had been dismantled by a tailor for parts. This was about in line.
Dude, the person who made that fursuit just saw all that stuff dismantled, like, no! That took me 50 hours!
For things to get a little more interesting. A turquoise monkey fursuit was next placed into the clockworks on the 1-to-1 setting. Once the machine was activated, the fursuit became a bright red gorilla fursuit. This made sense, seeing as the 1-to-1 setting always produced something that was roughly equivalent to the item placed into the intake booth.
So what you're saying is it would be the cheap and effective way for a VTuber to rebrand every 5 minutes. Neat. You know those VTubers you see where it's like, hey guys, debut! And I lost all my my viewership because I'm not entertaining, and the only way I can garner any kind of viewership is by debuting every other month! Rather than spending $5,000 on another VTube model and re-debuting because I'm intellectually bankrupt, let's use this machine to just rehash what I already have.
Rather than wasting another fursuit, Dr. Gottlieb made researcher Klein move that same red gorilla fursuit back into the intake booth and set the setting to fine. The result, essentially the same fursuit, but made out of a much higher quality material and with a better sense of craftsmanship.
Yo, deadass though, there is an entire, like, my favorite gender of cringe is looking at, like, fursuit monstrosities. I want to point out, like, modern fursuits are amazing. Like, the craftsmanship that goes into them is parallel to none when you get really good ones. However, if you were part of the furry fandom when I first joined the fandom, it would have been a whole different experience. Like, back then, it was a wild west of quality. And even today, you still get glaringly bad quality fursuits. Like, need I show you any example? And the thing is, you know furries are, must be popular, because the whole, you know the meme, can we get it from Wish? The entire reason that meme became popular is because Wish started selling fursuits. But not just any fursuits. These are stolen fursuits. These are companies that literally take existing fursuits that people own and they'll try and resell it over like different websites and everything. Yeah, here we go. Like Etsy. Thing is, and here's the crazy thing. I know this person. I know who owns it. And this website is trying to sell that exact fursuit for $63 as a mascot costume. And I can guarantee you that it will not arrive looking anything like that. That's how you know furries are mainstream.
It would have a retail value of around $2,800.
If you want to giggle though, go look up immensely cursed
some of the financial
fursuits.
loss incurred by the fursuits annihilated during the first and second round of testing. But really, all of this was just a prelude. The true allure of SCP-914, the thing that kept researchers coming back, whether they liked to admit it or not, was the very fine setting. It was the
Very
ultimate
fine, like my
icon.
content.
Anything placed into the machine would be
Like Maddie's
anomalously
cute face.
improved with entirely unpredictable effects. Dr. Gottlieb would never admit it, but deep down, he held a forbidden desire. The
Like I said, the closet furry. The guy who went to Harvard University, wanted to be a furry, but knew that he'd get laughed out of the academy for doing it. But now he's the one with the power.
perfect fursuit. The ultimate addition to his collection. Something that would make him the belle of the ball at any furry convention he attended in his
See what I
office,
mean?
providing he could sneak the
People
perfect
are all happy to friggin' jest and make fun of furries and fursuits until you get one and realize, oh my god, that's kind of a good, I look pretty fucking sexy. Hey, that's pretty good.
anomalous fursuit out of Site 19 after testing. That's why the fursuit reserved for the very fine test was of his own fursona, Jackson, a brilliant blue fox, and a costume he had worn many, many times, and hoped to wear many times more. If
Guys,
only-
listen, can we please stop accusing me of being a furry? Guys, I am not a fur... No, that was Photoshop. That was Photoshop. That is Photoshop. I'm not a furry. Nah, what are you,
Siren, somebody said. Somebody said hi, Siren. Hi.
You have to get the shiny check. You know how it is not to get the aperture to go white?
Firstly twisted the knob on the selection panel to very fine. Yes. Oh,
Yes!
he would have.
Behold! I have become my
Its huge
persona!
mass of steampunk circuitry imbuing the Jackson suit with impossible anomalous power.
I am now
The output booth
Yifalicious.
opened,
Please
fog
poop
spilled
my
out into
snoot.
the room with all the pomp and circumstance of Darth Vader's introduction in A New Hope. And yet, it seemed like inside, there was just the same old fursuit. Brilliant blue Jackson. Dr. Gottlieb's heart sank. All this effort, all the destroyed fursuits.
Talk about
and all
gaslighting your way
for
to a
nothing.
level of power
With
to
a great sense
satiate
of
your inner
personal
fantasies.
disappointment, Dr. Gottlieb
Might
ordered
explain the,
research
the
assistant
Democrat
Klein
Party,
to
honestly.
collect Jackson and finish the test. But as Klein approached, the unpredictable anomalous effect imbued by the clockworks started to take effect. Jackson, a supposedly inert suit on the ground of the output booth,
It
began
lives!
to writhe and wriggle, as though filled with rats. Klein was startled, but he didn't react quickly enough to save himself from the nightmare about to unfold. Jackson leapt onto Klein with a nightmarish screech. The fibers burned when they touched his skin, burrowing into his every pore, as the fursuit enveloped.
They have a furry on the team, and this is their fantasy. You know how I was talking about furry transformation fetish? This is, I shit you not, one of the most cliche stories of not only transformation, but vor. I have drawn this on a number of occasions. I have seen other people commission this on a number of occasions. I feel dirty watching this. I am getting secondhand cringe.
Him, Klein screamed in terrible agony, but it evoked no sympathy in the monster swallowing him whole. Dr. Gottlieb could hardly believe what
I need to see the comments. I need to see the I guarantee you, I have so many friends in the furry fandom that have seen this.
Seeing his favorite fursuit was bonding to his research assistant, covering him and hijacking his body like a parasite.
Yep, this is
Even when
the
suit
kink.
had fully
This is
covered
it.
Klein's body, the poor man
We are
gasped and
Venom.
screaming. Every moment was agony, but he was no longer in control. The figure that had once been Klein turned on him.
Like, the reason that I say this, by the way, is because this is oddly specific. Like, most of these, like, stories are kind of, like, generalized to an SCP. But this is immensely specific with hyperistic details that I have seen before, and I know, I smell furry degeneracy from a mile away. And this right here reeks of it.
Was like a nightmare come to life.
Or a
Gottlieb
wet
saw
dream
the
for some
glassy
furries.
eyes of Jackson staring at him. It was time to run.
I mean, come on. Be honest. If you could transform into your persona, would ya? Or likewise for the VTuber inclined out there, if you could get metamorphosized into your VTube character, would you? Those who said no, stop kidding yourself.
Gottlieb turned on his heel and sprinted out of the testing chamber. He heard the footsteps of Jackson speeding behind him, claws pounding on tiles. Klein's screams echoing out of the suit like a siren. There was no time to even process what was happening. This terrible new monster needed to be stopped. There were
Terrible
two
new
armed
monster?
guards out of the hall.
Man, that's like
Gottlieb
that's
yelled
what
for
the
them to
government thought about
respond,
furries in
that
the
something
90s.
dangerous was chasing him.
These furries
The
must be
guards pulled their
stopped.
pistols and prepared for a fight. They never could have expected a bright blue fursuit with a shrieking man inside to shovel
Oh
out
no,
of Lisa's
Jimmy's
cell
got out in his
109-B.
fursuit again.
For a moment, they suppressed laughter, but when the stranger began running towards them, they opened fire and peppered the humanoid monster with bullets. Klein screamed inside the suit as the bullets perforated him, but the suit itself, controlling his every motion, did not hesitate. It ran up to...
Okay. Now I know this person is a furry. You want to know why? Because he textured the inside of the fur to how the inside of fake fur looks. Nobody who isn't a furry would know that. That is a hyper-specific detail that only the people who've seen the inside of a fursuit will know. And by proxy, you can then make that logical deduction that this entire thing is either... oh my god, I know what this is. Hold on, I wonder if it's in the comments. I have a sneaking suspicion that somebody gave SCP Explained a lot of money to turn their fanfiction into an SCP. And because SCP Explained knows that furry clickbait gets a lot of views, he saw this as he gets paid to make money. I mean, look at the thumbnail for this, by the way. Like, this is the most self-aware nonsense. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. You telling me that they didn't know. This, no matter which way you look at this is either some suspiciously wealthy furry who commissioned SCP Explained to make this, or somebody working at SCP Explained was like, I was horny this morning.
Controlling his every motion, did not hesitate. It ran up to one of the guards and grabbed him by the chin and back of the head. With one sharp twist and a crunch, the guard fell to the ground. SCP.
Dude, I have so many horror stories
The other guard was
about furry conventions I
At
can
least
tell you
the
all about.
first died quickly. As Gottlieb watched in confusion and horror, Jackson chomped down onto the surviving guard's arm. The guard let out a pained yelp, but seconds later, Jackson pulled away, and watched as the awful transformation.
Oh my god! No! No way! Vampire furries! Are you shitting me? Oh, he's gonna turn into his most deepest desire. He's gonna finally turn into the furry that he's always wanted to be. Not even wear furries, wear fursuits. Jesus.
Again.
We
The
all
guard
thought that the zombie
spasmed and
apocalypse would be what would kill us,
seized, his
not the
veins coursing
furry
with
zombie
poison.
apocalypse.
Clumps of red fur sprouted from his skin, his skeletal structure growing and warping. After a few moments of painful transformation, the guard...
He's beautiful. He's beautiful. You know what this is? This is that Magneto meme. Show me perfection. No, I said perfection.
guard became something else entirely.
A superior
fursuit,
being.
A giant anthropomorphic parrot, to be specific. Where there had once been one, now there were a terrible two. Dr. Gottlieb sounded the alarm and ran for his life. Things descended into chaos.
Dude. We have the flesh that hates. And somebody at the 07 council was like, hey, can we have the flesh that hates? And the furries were like, but we have the flesh that hates at home. Or insert the flesh that hates from Wish. One of the two.
Relatively quickly after that, a mobile task force was dispatched to the site, told that there was an aggressive and possibly pathogenic anomaly rapidly spreading through Site-19. But when they saw that the threat in question was a gaggle of vicious mutant furries, they paused for a moment of...
That's just the way people describe furries normally. That's not even like a microaggression. That's like, oh, look at the mutant furries. Ew.
Fusion. And that moment was all the monsters needed to take advantage of. In hallway 15C, some researchers were cowering as a gaggle of colorful humanoid coyotes bore down on them. It was impossible to tell if the people they once were laughing or crying. In the break room, Dr. Clef was wielding his favorite pump-action shotgun.
By the way, this would have been a null issue. They just need to think like furries. All they gotta do is throw down some smut on the ground, put a cheap commission out there for them, put on an episode of Fox and the Hound or Robin Hood, or put out Star Fox to play, and this would have been instantly a wash.
A bright green baboon was running at him when Clef unleashed a blast full of buckshot into the freakish furry's chest, sending it skidding across the ground and into the announcement board. Blood spread out across the suit, but the monster was not dead. It quickly righted itself, twisting and setting its bones back into place.
Now, this is some Five Nights at Freddy's nonsense as well.
With little effort. Luckily for Dr. Clef, he still had plenty of ammo left, and he was more than eager to impart it into the anomalous body of his new semi-human friend. One of the D-class bunks, on the other hand, were an absolute bloodbath. Most of the prisoners were sleeping when the man fused with a crocodile suit tore open the reinforced door.
Oh,
they didn't
no!
even have time to scream before several mutant furries ran in and started biting them, kicking off a flurry of horrifying transformations. By the time they were done, it looked like a cartoon zoo in there. And soon enough, Site-19 had a zoo loose. The mobile task force were hopelessly outmatched.
Furpocalypse.
Even with high-powered assault rifles, they somehow couldn't slow the advance of...
So, did we learn nothing from the thing? Regular conventionary weapons don't work. You gotta chop them up or use fire. Hans, fetch the Flammenwerth for the second time today.
Of the furry menace. Their claws tore through tactical gear like cheap toilet paper. The one saving grace when the MTF operatives transformed.
Wait, I know what their weakness is. Deodorant. Give them a shower or deodorant, they'll change straight back to being a human. This is all an allegory for having a fucking shower.
Was that their big, cartoonish hands no longer had the dexterity to operate guns. Not that it stopped them from causing all manner of carnage. One security guard, Officer Schneider, watched his entire squad get infected and brutally transform. Every second of it looked unimaginably painful. To lose yourself and become something else. He grabbed the rifle with the highest stopping power he could find and opened fire onto the beast men pursuing him. Headshots did not kill them, but it seemed to at least slow them down more than body shots. He was not going to get murdered or changed by one of these Technicolor horrors.
God, what was that movie?
There had to be someone who knew what was going on and how to stop it. Meanwhile, the one person who did know what was going on, Dr. Gottlieb, had no idea how to solve it. He'd sequestered himself away in one of the most secure and secretive research chambers in the facility, an automated surgical theater. He'd been able to use a high-powered tranquilizer to briefly subdue the Jackson Klein creature. and strap it to a surgical gurney with heavy restraints. It didn't take long for the creature to come to again, struggling against its bindings.
This is where you activate the thermal nuclear bomb and just say enable a scorched earth
I'm gonna get you out of there. He felt tremendous guilt for everything he'd triggered.
Oh, dude, but that fursuit's like $12,000. You really will. This is why dude. Okay, fun story. At one of my fur conventions I went to, there was a medical emergency with somebody who was wearing their fursuit. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. When the ambulance are called, they don't care what you're wearing. They cut you out of it. This guy had this fursuit for 2 days. It was a $7,000 fursuit. And all he'd done is fractured his ankle. But they had to cut all the way up and get him completely out of the fursuit. Yeah. The fun thing was, he actually took that and turned it into a sort of like a trope of the suit, because what he did with it is he got it fixed, but he then had like these comically cartoony like staples up the side of the fursuit. So it actually kind of improved it in some respects, but yeah. Note to self: never have a medical emergency when you're in a fursuit. I have also seen no less than 3 people in fursuit who vomited inside their helmet, inside of their fursuit heads because they got too drunk. Drinking and fursuiting does not mix.
If he could save Patient Zero, perhaps he could save them all, undo the damage he'd done. He made an incision on the front of his beloved Jackson suit, the one that had caused all this pain, and tried to pull it open, hoping to rip Klein from his anomalous bindings. But the Klein inside was not the one he remembered. It was a skeleton, covered in woven fibers like a
Used.
system. Klein had been digested inside Jackson. Whatever was happening to all these people, it was permanent, irreversible. Dr. Gottlieb had killed them all. As if activated by Gottlieb's fear, the fursuit began wriggling again. It closed over what was left of Klein and shook the gurney with tremendous force. The restraints started to buckle and rip. Gottlieb.
Yeah, this is definitely some Vorfetch thing.
Out of the room, closing the secure door behind him, hoping that will at least buy him some time. Out in the hall, he ran into Security Officer Schneider, who managed to narrowly escape the anomalous furries with his life. But he was not unscathed. His tactical armor was damaged, and there were deep ruts clawed into one of his cheeks. Dr. Gottlieb was sobbing. He choked out a confession. This was all his fault. He caused it. Everyone was dead or changed. There was nothing. This brings us back to the start of our sordid tale. Dr. Gottlieb was standing in the barricaded room with Officer Schneider as the mutant furries burst in through the door. Gottlieb braced to be bitten, to be beaten, but it never happened. They didn't attack Officer Schneider either, because it was already too late. The scratch had worked its magic slower than the bite, but he was still infected. Officer Schneider became a colorful plush animal like all the others, and Dr. Gottlieb was alone. They all stood still, watching.
What are you waiting for?
Dr. Gottlieb screamed in a moment of madness.
Is he there?
What are you
Is he there,
waiting
ruler?
for?
They didn't infect Dr. Gottlieb. Instead, as a unit, they guided him back to Research Cell 109-B. Despite his protests, he was forced into the intake booth of SCP-914. He banged his fist on the door and screamed to be let out, but nothing happened. All the furries stood outside and silently watched. Jackson, who had once been Klein, approached the control panel and switched the selection to rough. Now go check out SCP.
Oh, that's a yikes. Ooh, ew, yuck, ew, ugh. Wow, okay. Well, that was certainly an experience. Went down avenues I didn't quite expect. Bye everyone! It's been a good time. Hope you enjoy yourself. I'll catch you next time. Bye! Remember, furries aren't real. They can't hurt you. Except they can.